Helping your dismissive avoidant partner feel safe in your relationship actually doesn't have a whole lot to do with them, but it does have a whole lot to do with you. Let's look at the reasons why a dismissive was kind of into you. You were a little bit like the caregiver they had as a child. And what we do as children is we tend to align ourselves with our caregiver as a survival instinct. So if our caregiver was a little bit emotionally unregulated, a little bit unreliable emotionally, then the child will say, okay, how can I adapt to cope with this? Now, seeing as that's a familiar experience, one that they know that they can survive, subconsciously they're drawn towards that. And a partner too, which was you. But the same reasons why they're attracted to you could potentially be the reasons why the relationship would fail. Just observe their relationship with their parent now. If you want to wind up exactly the same as that, well, maybe it's time to start having a look at yourself. Just like I've said, the kinds of things that you tend to do in the relationship will have a huge impact, a massive impact on whether they're prepared to draw close and show up for you. The first thing to be aware is that an avoidant needs space. You may not. You don't need space. You want to resolve things straight away. No, they need to pull away and process information. They're not broken. They're just different. And just because they're different to you, it doesn't mean that you need to convince them that your way is right. Their way is their way. Let them have that space and time. Say less than they do. Text less than they do. It'll help a lot. Now, remember I said at the beginning they were kind of into your dysregulation, that, you're being maybe a little bit coercive and demanding with something that they were familiar with, but it won't help you in the long term. If you continue to behave that way, then it will end your relationship. They'll end up walking away from you. See, they're completely used to relationships being short-term things. They don't have a reference for a long-term, lasting, healthy relationship. So they're happy to walk into a relationship with you, seeing all of the flaws, all of the reasons why it will end, even before they start. In fact, it may even be a prerequisite for them to see problems. You see, an emotional bond for them is something they'd prefer to avoid, because obviously in the past it's caused them a lot of pain. So if they can see that this isn't going to work, they're in. If you're a little bit too healthy for them, then they won't engage, right? So if you want this to last, you're already kind of behind the eight ball. You have to play a different game. So after a while, the dismissive's going to see you in a different light. They're going to see you as a risk and a love at the same time. How do you eliminate the risk? Stop being emotionally unregulated. That might be a challenge, but there's the thing. And unless you have a growth mindset, unless you're prepared to look at yourself and deal with the reasons why you have massive insecurities, then this isn't going to last. So obviously it begins with you. First up, to be aware of certain behaviors. And if you're feeling emotionally unregulated, is the best time to give them space until you can get on top of those emotions. So then you can communicate in a way that is completely level-headed without coercion, control, demands, or criticism. That's one of the biggest things to avoid with a dismissive. So when a dismissive comes and opens up emotionally to you, try to avoid the inclination to absolutely unload all of your emotional BS on them. They're coming to you with their intimate thoughts and feelings. This is a big deal for them to do that. So for us to dismiss them with our thoughts, that for them is a massive turn-off. Give them an opportunity to express and validate them without having to add our extra information to them. Listen, be present, that's all. Now when a dismissive shows up for you, when they reach across their emotions and actually acknowledge your needs, which is a big deal for them, acknowledge them back. Say how much you appreciate that. Acknowledge and tell them that you understand how hard it is for them to have done that and just how much you appreciate it. It'll get you a lot of brownie points. Now understand that at times a dismissive will pull away from you, and there will be no apparent reference or reason why they've done that. It might be you, but it might not be too. Because if one person in your life kind of triggers them, they tend to pull away from everybody. So please be aware that, number one, even if it is something that you've done that triggers them, it's their emotion. It's their issue to deal with. And every individual is responsible for their own emotions. Don't be jumping up and down thinking, what did I do wrong? I have to change my behavior. I have to adapt. I have to accommodate their toxic behavior and their problems and their insecurities. No, you don't. You have to be aware of them, but being aware also of your own sensibilities without having to change to suit somebody else. But then when they do pull away, let them go. They're pulling away for a reason. They're not pulling away so you can chase after them and say, hey, come back here, we got things to talk about. That will make them feel very uncomfortable. Just be aware. If you can remember as a child and you've done something wrong or you're in trouble and you know there's going to be some punishment coming, and that dread, just anticipating something terrible is about to happen, that is how it feels for a dismissive when you're chasing after them. Just imagine, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to make yourself less attractive to your dismissive? Give them that space. And when they come back to you, they're going to come off their own fruition of their own choice when they're ready. And then don't criticize the fact that they've pulled away. Just encourage and love them for the fact that they've made the choice of making you their choice. And finally, dismissives love independence. It's their massive go-to for themselves. Now, maybe the pendulum swings a little bit too far towards completely being independent, but at the same time, our inclination as the partners of dismissives is to be a little bit too codependent. We can learn from each other to meet in the middle instead of being two separate parts or being two halves of one whole. Interdependence. We can learn from each other, but be aware that they will absolutely love the fact that you're making a big effort to go towards your own pursuits, not trying to include yourself in theirs, not trying to appease their sensibilities as far as what they think is going to be interesting. Do your own thing. They'll love that. So be under no illusions. It's not easy to get on with a dismissive, but maybe be aware that you're not so easy to get on with sometimes, Mr. or Miss Anxiety, right? First thing is to recognize that a dismissive will be amazing at exposing your triggers. They'll trigger you. You'll feel it. You'll know what I'm talking about already. That's a perfect opportunity for you to really lean into those reasons, those triggers, those unresolved issues within yourself, so you can become that secure person that you should be. When you do that, that dismissive will feel so comfortable around you and will show up. That's the secret. First things first, take care of your emotional growth and your autonomy and your security. And then, and only then, they'll feel comfortable in your relationship and will show up for you.